I think that one of the most dangerous things that religion has ever done to the species is that it has induced in us a sensitivity to authoritarianism. It has created a kind of psychology that is defenseless or mindless against authoritarian structures. What does this mean? This means that the religious form is to assert the nature of reality, usually from the basis of documents that were created by humans, to then claim by proxy that those documents represent the words of God. And so humans accept this and they fall into this. So then we have these holy books that are made. The holy books contain declarations about reality, and what happens is individuals believe these declarations. They take them to be true simply through the act of their being declared, a declarative statement. And as these statements are declared, humans become mindless. They don't know how to interact in a critical way with what is being stated because it's predicated on the foundation of authority. The claim is that this is the voice of God speaking. So I think that this is one of the most destructive things that religion has done to the species psychologically, because it has, in a sense, made humans vulnerable to this authoritarian structure. And it is this authoritarian structure through which tyranny tends to work. So the question is, what is totalitarianism? Where does it essentially come from? We see over and over again the claim that a society is in danger of collapsing into totalitarianism, into tyranny. And this is asserted with examples of Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union under the reign of Stalin. And so these examples are given as examples of what society will collapse into if certain ideologies are adopted. For example, the most common one is to talk about communism, to say that communism is going to bring about a state of totalitarianism. Now, it's true that a communist revolution could in fact bring about a state of totalitarianism, but it would not bring about a state of totalitarianism like what we saw in Nazi Germany or what we saw in the Soviet Union. Now, immediately people stop and go, whoa, wait a second, the Soviet Union, isn't that a communist country? No, that's not actually a communist country. And stay with me. So the reason that's not a communist country is because a communist revolution would occur when the workers in a system band together and overthrow the system. As they overthrow the system, you certainly have a danger of tyranny, because those workers, when they destabilize and overthrow everything, there is no law, there's no nothing. So then the question becomes, how is society going to proceed now that the workers have overthrown the system? A communist revolution would not look like Nazi Germany, and it would not look like Stalin's state of power. These movements of Nazi Germany and Stalinist Soviet Union are models of tyranny. They're forms of tyranny, it's very important, that are predicated on models that have unilateral authority given to individuals. The same is true with North Korea. So when these examples are given, the Third Reich, the Soviet Union, and North Korea, and people say that, we are in danger of collapsing into totalitarianism like this. They don't know what they're talking about. And an extraordinary phenomena has happened in our time. The actual Nazis, the actual fascists, have actually pointed to past movements of fascism and said that these past movements of fascism are going to come about if the masses do not adhere to these fascist principles. It's very easy to miss this, to see what's going on here. It's an extraordinary thing that has happened. The fascists of our time are pointing to Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union and North Korea of examples of what will come about if people do not adhere or accept their principles, their authoritarian principles of fascism, that only their authoritarian principles of fascism can save people from these examples of totalitarianism. This is backwards because the individuals who are making this argument are themselves trying to bring authoritarian regimes into power that exactly model these unilateral models of totalitarianism, meaning Hitler, there was no democracy there. They had abolished it. Hitler, therefore, had unilateral authority, just like the Supreme Court has given to the office of president under Donald Trump. He had unilateral authority to do whatever he wanted, and there was no democratic check on his power. That is how you get totalitarianism. The same thing was true in the Soviet Union. Stalin had unilateral authority to do whatever he wanted, and if people got in his way, he would just kill them because he was above the law. Hitler was above the law. In North Korea, they're above the law. Totalitarianism is what happens not when you bring a collective workers' movement into power where the workers come together and want to overthrow the system, though that can be problematic. That's not the tyranny that one should fear. The tyranny that one should fear is the unilateral system, where an individual has the sole power to decide who lives, who dies, when to go to war, when to stay in peace. He can decide everything. The whole system bows to his rules. That is the essence of totalitarianism. And what shocks me is that in our time, the fascists, the ones who want to bring a unilateral system into power, have actually pointed to unilateral systems and said that these systems are going to come into power if you do not accept our unilateral ideology. It's a form of manipulation that preys on emotion, and it's a form of propaganda. It's trying to scare people into accepting this new form of fascism. It's one of the techniques that the new fascism is making use of. And it's shocking because I don't know if we have a parallel of this in history, because the events of Nazi Germany had not occurred prior to Nazi Germany, so the Nazis were not able to point to something on that level with that scale. But now the propaganda machine, the fascists of our time, they can point to that. And what people need to know, what we all need to know that's most important, is that fascism, totalitarianism, is the result of individuals coming into power without accountability, where they can bypass democratic process. That is how you get totalitarianism in a system. And any system that is trying to bring that kind of system into power is a system of fascism. That is the bottom line. Any power, it doesn't matter if they're telling you that they're trying to stave off fascism. If they are bringing in a system of power that is empowering someone into a position of unilateral authority above the system without checks on that power. That is a system that is the same as Nazi Germany, that is the same as Stalin's position in the Soviet Union, that is the same as North Korea. You are in fact bringing fascism, totalitarianism into power. And people do not understand this. They have been taught by these fascists to look for something else. It's a cloak and a cover for their own tyranny. They are trying to point the attention away from themselves and direct it to a scapegoat that will not even bring totalitarianism. It's not even a threat. The threat is unilateral authority. The threat is bringing individuals into power that have no check on that power. But these fascists are pointing to these scapegoats that they have fabricated, and they're telling people you should be very afraid of these scapegoats of communism because communism is going to bring in a Stalin-like position or a Third Reich Hitler-type position, when in fact, the situation that these people are warning you about, that is the position that they are in the process of bringing about within your system. They're sneaking it in. It's a cloak that they have tried to cover their own tracks with. They're in the process of doing that to the very people that they say they are saving them from that process. They're trying to bring about that situation. So totalitarianism is not what people think it is, and it does not come about the way that people think it does. It comes about because you put an individual into power, and most importantly, people will obey his orders. He has the ability to order people around officially, and they must obey his orders. That creates a system of totalitarianism, a system of tyranny, because there's no way to democratically push back against the tyranny of power. It becomes absolute and centered in a mono form within those systems. The way to avoid that is to support democratic institutions and democratic process, and to not side with individuals who try to bypass these democratic procedures, to not mistakenly believe that individuals who are pushing back and trying to delegitimize these democratic procedures, to not believe that those people are some kind of heroic resistor that is there to save the masses from the encroachment of tyranny. Those people are the tyranny. They are the tyranny because they have rejected democratic process. And when you reject that, you eventually create a position of power where the power is centralized in monoforms, and there's no way to stop or put the action of those monoforms in check. This absolutely creates a crisis, and it is the foundation of totalitarianism, not what the fascists, these people who are trying to dupe people, are saying, oh, it's communism. That's not what it is. Communism has its own problems, but that is not what the danger of tyranny is, or where the danger of tyranny lies. The danger of tyranny lies in bringing these individuals who are telling you that they're going to save you by giving them power. The danger lies in bringing these individuals into power, because once they get into power, they bypass every check on their power.